They said the river demanded blood. They said it was the only way. But as I stand here now, watching the waters glow beneath the full moon, I know they were wrong about everything. Let me take you back to where it all began, 3 moons ago, in the village of Karabo. The sun beat down mercilessly on the cracked earth, turning what was once fertile soil into dust that choked the throat and stung the eyes. Amora wiped the sweat from her brow as she knelt beside old Mama Folek, pressing a damp claw to the woman's fevered forehead. Around them, children cried from hunger, their bellies swollen, their eyes hollow with a pain no child should know. You should save your water for yourself, child, Mama Folek whispered, her voice brittle as dried leaves. You give too much. Amora smiled softly, though her heart ached. We survive together or not at all, Mama. Her best friend Zola appeared in the doorway, her face tight with worry. Amora, you need to come home. Now. What is it? The elders have called an assembly. They say it's time. Zola's voice dropped to barely a whisper. Time for another sacrifice. Amora's blood ran cold. She had heard the stories all her life, whispered around cooking fires and in the darkness before sleep. Every generation, when the drought grew too severe, the river god Mwizi demanded a bride. A virgin would be chosen, adorned in white, and given to the waters. Only then would the rains return. Only then would Karabo survive. How many does that make? Amora asked quietly as they walked through the dying village. 47, Zola replied. 47 women fed to that river over 50 years, and still we suffer. The village square teemed with frightened faces. At the center, 5 figures stood on a raised platform, their robes pristine despite the dust that covered everything else. Chief Elder Obesai dominated the group, his voice booming across the crowd like thunder. People of Karabo, hear me. The river god grows impatient. Our disobedience has brought this punishment upon us. But he is merciful. He offers us salvation, as he always has. He requires a bride, pure and untouched, to restore balance to our world. Amora watched as mothers pulled their daughters closer, as young women tried to make themselves invisible. She had seen this before, when she was 12, when they took her cousin Adana. Adana who loved to dance. Adana who wanted to be a teacher. Adana who screamed and fought as they dragged her to the river. Elder Kamara, the only woman among the 5, stepped forward with a clay pot filled with white stones. Her face was carefully neutral, but something flickered in her eyes. Guilt. Fear. Amora couldn't tell. Each family would draw, Obesai announced. The river god will choose his bride through the sacred stones. One stone bears the mark of selection. Fate will decide. But as Amora watched the elders' faces, as she saw the way Obesai's eyes swept the crowd and landed on her, she understood with terrible clarity that fate had nothing to do with it. She had made a mistake 3 days ago. She had questioned why the elders' granaries remained full while children starved. She had asked too loudly why the sacred grain couldn't be shared in times of crisis. Now she would pay for her questions. One by one, families drew stones. One by one, they exhaled in relief or wept in despair. When Amora's mother reached into the pot, her hand trembling, Amora already knew. She saw it in Obesai's satisfied smile, in the way Elder Kamara looked away. Her mother's scream shattered the air as the marked stone tumbled from her palm. No. Not my daughter. Take me instead. Please. The guards moved forward, but Amora stepped between them and her mother. She stood tall, though everything inside her wanted to collapse. I'll go willingly. Don't hurt her. Amora, no. Zola grabbed her arm. Let me take your place. I'll tell them I'm the one who should go. You have 3 younger brothers who need you, Amora whispered. And someone needs to take care of my mother. Promise me, Zola. Promise me you'll look after her. Through tears, Zola nodded. The guards led Amora away, and the last thing she heard was her mother's anguish sobbing echoing across the square. They brought her to the preparation hut on the edge of the village, a small structure where walls were covered in strange markings. As the priestess Ife began the ritual cleansing, Amora's eyes adjusted to the dim light. That's when she saw them. Names. Dozens and dozens of names carved into the wooden post. The names of the sacrificed. They all came through here, Ife said quietly, following Amora's gaze. Every single one. Did you prepare them too? Yes. The old woman's hands shook as she draped white cloth over Amora's shoulders. For 30 years, I have prepared girls for death. Your father, he was different. He asked questions too. Amora's head snapped up. My father drowned fishing. That's what they told us. Ife's expression was unreadable. Did he? Or did he learn something he shouldn't have? She pressed something small and hard into Amora's palm. Your mother wanted you to have this. Your grandmother's amulet. She said it protected her through many dark times. The amulet was warm against Amora's skin, a smooth stone wrapped in intricate metalwork that caught the light strangely. As she stared at it, Ife leaned close and whispered, "The river sees more than drowning, child. Remember that." Before Amora could ask what she meant, the priestess was gone, leaving her alone with the names of the dead and 7 days until her execution. The days crawled by like years. Her mother came each night, climbing through the small window to hold her daughter and weep. I should have protected you better. I should have taught you to be quiet, to never question. Then I wouldn't be your daughter, Amora replied, trying to smile. You taught me to see injustice and speak against it. I don't regret that, Mama. Not even now. Zola came too, bringing stories and memories, trying to fill their last days together with joy instead of sorrow. But in the quiet moments, Amora's mind turned to her father. She remembered him as a man who laughed easily but whose eyes grew serious when he spoke of the elders. She remembered the night before he died, how he had held her close and said, "Some truths are worth more than life, little one. Never forget that." She had been 7 years old. She hadn't understood then. But now, tracing the names on the wall, she wondered if he had died discovering one of those truths. On the 6th night, Elder Komara appeared at the hut's entrance. She didn't speak at first, just stood there, her face twisted with an emotion Amora couldn't name. Finally, she said, "I'm sorry." For what? Amora asked. For choosing me. For standing by while 47 women died. For letting corruption feast while children starve. For all of it, Komara whispered. For being too afraid to stop it. Your father, he figured it out. He knew what they were doing, and they couldn't let him tell anyone. What are they doing? What's worth killing for? But Komara was already backing away, terror bright in her eyes. I've said too much. Forgive me, child. Forgive me. The 7th day arrived with a dawn that felt like an ending. They dressed Amora in flowing white robes, adorned her hair with cowrie shells, and painted sacred symbols on her skin. The entire village lined the path to the river, some crying, others praying, all of them helpless against tradition's cruel weight. If you're wondering what happens next, make sure you're subscribed because this story takes a turn nobody expects. Hit that subscribe button now. Obesai led the procession, his voice rising and falling in ancient chants. Amora walked behind him, her mother's amulet hidden beneath her robes, her mind strangely calm. If she was going to die, she would die with dignity. She would not give them the satisfaction of her fear. They reached the river's edge where a small raft waited, barely more than logs tied together. The water churned with unusual violence, as if the river itself was angry. Obesai raised his hands to the sky. Great Mwizi, river god, keeper of life and death, we offer you this bride. Accept her pure spirit and grant us your mercy. Let the rains fall. Let our land flourish. The guards pushed Amora onto the raft. She looked back one last time and saw her mother collapse in Zola's arms, saw Elder Kamar watching with haunted eyes, saw the smug satisfaction on Obesai's face. Then the current grabbed the raft and pulled. The journey was short and violent. Rapids appeared that Amora had never seen before, water churning white and furious. The raft splintered. Amora plunged into the cold darkness, her lungs burning, water filling her nose and mouth. She sank deeper and deeper, the surface becoming a distant shimmer of light. This is how I die, she thought. Drowned for asking questions. Just like my father. But then the water began to glow. Soft blue light surrounded her, and instead of drowning, she felt herself being pulled not down but forward, through a tunnel of liquid light that defied all logic. Her lungs should have burst. Her body should have failed. Instead, she felt peaceful. The tunnel opened suddenly, and Amora tumbled onto smooth stone, gasping and coughing. But she was breathing. Air, not water. She looked up and her mind struggled to process what she saw. A palace stretched before her, carved from living coral and glowing crystal. Bioluminescent fish swam through the air as if it were water. The walls pulsed with soft light in shades of blue and green and purple. Everything was impossible, beautiful, and utterly real. Welcome to Molly, a voice said, and Amora spun to find a woman standing behind her. No, not quite a woman. Her skin had the faint shimmer of fish scales, and her eyes were too large, too knowing. I am Tadola. You must have many questions. Am I dead? Amora managed. No. You're saved. As were the 47 women before you. Tadola smiled sadly. Come. There is much you need to see. Tadola led her through corridors that seemed to shift and change, past gardens where kelp grew like trees and anemones bloomed like flowers. They passed other women, some young, some aged, all wearing expressions of grief mixed with relief. Some looked at Amora with pity. Others with something like hope. Then Tadola brought her to a courtyard where a figure knelt beside a pool of still water, and Amora's words stopped. Papa. The man turned, and though he was older, though his hair had gone grey and his face was lined with sorrow, Amora knew him instantly. Her father rose slowly, tears streaming down his face. Amora. My little Amora. What have they done? She ran to him, and he caught her, and for a long moment, they simply held each other and wept. When they finally pulled apart, Amora's mind was reeling. They said you drowned. They said it was an accident. It was meant to look like one. Her father's voice was bitter. I discovered their secret, Amora. I found the ledgers. I saw what they were doing. They couldn't let me return to tell the village, so they cursed me. Everyone who learns the truth and tries to leave this place turns to water. We are prisoners of our own knowledge. What truth? What are they hiding? Everything, a new voice answered, deep and resonant. Amora turned to see a man approaching, tall and regal, with skin that seemed to hold the depth of the ocean and eyes that carried the weight of decades. He moved like water itself, graceful and powerful. The drought is a lie. The sacrifice is a lie. Everything they've told you is built on murder and greed. Who are you? Amora breathed. I am Wizi. Though I haven't been called by that name in 50 years. Once, I was Prince of Karabo. Now, I am what they made me. He gestured, and the water in the pool began to shimmer and form images. Amora watched, horrified, as the story unfolded before her eyes. 50 years ago, Karabo had been ruled by a wise king who believed in sharing wealth and power. Young Prince Mizi discovered that his father's advisors, including Obesai's father, were poisoning the king slowly, planning to seize control after his death. The prince confronted them, threatened to expose them. So they struck first. Using dark magic purchased from a sorcerer in the eastern lands, they transformed the prince into a spirit of the river itself, bound him to the water, made him a myth. Then they told the people that the river god was angry, that he demanded sacrifice. Any woman who learned too much, who asked too many questions, who threatened their power, was sent to feed the river. But I saved them, Mwizi said quietly. Every single one. I brought them here, to Mboli, the kingdom beneath the river. They are safe, but they can never leave. The curse sees to that. Anyone who knows the truth and tries to return to the surface turns to water and dies. Amara felt sick. So they've been killing women for 50 years, and you've been collecting them like refugees. I've been saving their lives. While they use your name to justify murder. Amara's voice rose. While they tell mothers their daughters died for a holy purpose. While the village starves. The village starves, her father said heavily, because Obesai and the other elders are diverting the river water. They sell it to the neighboring villages for gold. They hoard grain and let the people suffer, then offer the sacrifice as hope. It keeps everyone afraid and obedient. Amora's grandmother's amulet began to pulse with heat against her chest. She pulled it out, and Mwizi's eyes widened. Where did you get that? My grandmother. She gave it to my mother, who gave it to me. Why? Mwizi reached out with a trembling hand. This was my mother's. The first river queen. She wore it until the day she died, and then, it vanished. We thought it was buried with her. What does it do? It was made from her tears, crystallized through magic. She wept for a year after my father died, and a wise woman took those tears and forged them into protection. A shield against curses. Against lies. Mwizi looked at Amora with new intensity. Your grandmother, what was her name? Adis. Adis was my youngest sister. Which means you, Mwizi's voice cracked. You're my great-great-niece. You're royal blood. The last of the true line. The implications crashed over Amora like a wave. She looked at her father, who nodded slowly. Your grandmother made me promise never to tell you. She feared what the elders would do if they knew. But I always suspected there was a reason you questioned everything, a reason you couldn't stay silent. It's in your blood, Amora. The duty to lead, to protect, to seek justice. Amora's mind raced. 47 women living in exile. A village suffering under corrupt elders. A curse that trapped anyone who learned the truth. And she had 7 days before what? The amulet, she said suddenly. It protected your mother from curses. Could it protect me? From the drowning, yes, Mwizi said. That's why you survived the river. But the binding curse, the one that prevents us from living, is far more powerful. Even with the amulet, you'd have perhaps 7 days before the curse took hold and you turned to water. 7 days. Amora's jaw set with determination. That's enough. Enough for what? To end this. To expose them. To free all of you. She looked around at the faces watching her, women who had been silenced, families torn apart, a kingdom built on lies. I won't let another girl die for their greed. I won't let another family suffer. Give me your power, Mwizi. Teach me to wield water as you do. Help me become what they fear most. You'll die, her father said desperately. Amora, please. Stay here. Stay safe. Stay with me. I can't, Papa. You know I can't. You raised me to stand against injustice, not hide from it. And you, she turned to Mwizi. You've been hiding for 50 years. Don't you want to reclaim what was stolen from you? Something shifted in Mwizi's eyes. Something that had been dormant for decades flickered to life. Yes, he whispered. By all the spirits, yes. The transformation ritual took 3 days. Mwizi poured his power into Amora, teaching her to feel the water's pulse, to command it, to make it an extension of her will. The amulet amplified everything, creating a bridge between human and spirit, between vengeance and justice. Amora learned to pull moisture from the air, to freeze water solid, to read the truth in people's souls by seeing how water flowed through their bodies. When someone lied, their internal waters churned. When they spoke truth, everything flowed smooth and clear. Her father and the other women gave her something even more precious than power. They gave her evidence. Ledgers showing 50 years of water theft and grain hoarding. Records of payments made to keep villages silent. Letters between the elders discussing which women were becoming too influential and needed to be sacrificed. A complete accounting of every crime, every murder, every betrayal. On the fourth day, as Amora practiced commanding a sphere of water to dance between her hands, Tadola approached with grave news. The elders have selected their next victim. A girl named Zola. Amora's blood turned to ice. No. Not her. Not Zola. They move faster now, her father said grimly. They are afraid. Word spreads that you didn't drown normally, that the river glowed when you went in. People are whispering. The elders want to reassert control. Then it's time. Amora looked at Muizi. I'm ready. Are you certain? Once you leave, the curse begins counting down. 7 days, and then. I know. It's enough. It has to be. Her father embraced her one last time. I'm so proud of you, my brave girl. Finish what I started. Save our people. I will, Papa. I swear it. Tadola shifted into her spirit form, becoming something between woman and river dolphin, sleek and powerful. I'll guide you back and stay near. If you need help, call to the water. I'll hear you. Amora took a deep breath, feeling the power thrumming through her veins, feeling the weight of 47 lives and 50 years of injustice on her shoulders. Then she dove into the water and let it carry her home. 3 days had passed in Karobo since Amora's sacrifice. 3 days of her mother weeping, of Zola trying to be strong, of whispers spreading through the village that something had felt different about this sacrifice. The water had glowed too brightly. The river had seemed almost angry. Now, on the night of the full moon, the elders had called another assembly. Zola stood in the square, her hands bound, her face defiant even as tears streamed down her cheeks. Her 3 younger brothers clung to their mother, sobbing. Amora's mother sat in the front row, her eyes hollow, her spirit broken. Obesai raised his hands, beginning the ritual chant. Great Muizi, we offer you another. The river erupted. Water shot into the sky, glowing with brilliant blue light that turned night into day. The crowd gasped and stumbled backward. The elders froze, fear flashing across their faces. And from the heart of the luminous column, Amora rose. Her eyes blazed with inner light. Water swirled around her like a living cloak. The amulet at her throat shone like a star. She looked like a goddess, like vengeance itself, like everything the elders had feared for 50 years. The river demands no sacrifice, Amora's voice rang out, amplified by magic, reaching every corner of Karobo. But justice will be served. If you're not already subscribed, this is the moment you'll want to hit that button because you need to see how this ends. Subscribe now and turn on notifications. Obesai recovered first, his face twisting with rage and panic. She is possessed. A demon has taken her form. Guards, seize her. But when the guards tried to approach, water rose from the ground and blocked their path. Amora descended slowly, her feet touching the earth for the first time in days. She walked toward Obesai, and with each step, water followed her like a loyal pet. I am no demon, Elder Obesai. I am Amora, daughter of Karobo, great-great-niece of Prince Muizi, the true river king you and your ancestors cursed and imprisoned 50 years ago. And I have returned with the truth you've murdered to hide. She turned to address the crowd, her voice carrying to every listener. The drought is a lie. The river god demands no brides. There is no divine punishment. There is only corruption, greed, and murder. Lies. Obesai shouted. The demon speaks lies to corrupt you. Amora's eyes blazed brighter. Then let the water prove it. Water flows with truth. Let me show you what lies in your elder's heart. She gestured, and water rose from a nearby well, forming a sphere that floated between them. Then she looked at Obesai, really looked, using the sight Muizi had taught her. She saw how the water in his body churned and twisted, polluted with 50 years of lies. Elder Obesai, she said clearly, have you ever diverted river water to sell to other villages for personal profit? No. But as he spoke, the water sphere turned black as tar. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Even in a world where magic was real, this was undeniable. The water didn't lie. Have you hoarded grain while children starved? No. Black again. Did you and your father murder Prince Muizi and transform him into a river spirit to seize power? These accusations are, he tried to move away, but water rose up, blocking his path. This is madness. I've served this village faithfully for. Answer the question. Zola's voice rang out, strong despite her fear. If you're innocent, the water will show it. Obesai's face had gone pale. He looked around, seeing his fellow elders backing away, seeing the crowd's expression shifting from fear to anger. Yes, he finally whispered. Yes, we cursed him. Yes, we created the sacrifice tradition. But it was necessary. To maintain order. To keep the village stable. The crowd erupted. Angry shouts filled the air. Amora raised her hand, and silence fell like a curtain. 47 women, she said quietly, and the quiet was somehow more terrible than shouting. 47 innocent women sent to die. Sent to serve a lie. My father among them when he discovered your crime. And how many children have starved while you sowed the water meant for their crops? How many families have suffered while you grew rich? Elder Komara stepped forward, her face wet with tears. It's all true. Every word. I've carried this shame for 30 years, too afraid to speak, too weak to act. But I'll be silent no more. She knelt before the crowd. I will testify to everything. I will name every crime, every victim. I will speak until my voice fails. One by one, the truth came out. The ledgers Amara brought from Molly confirmed everything. The other elders, seeing no escape, began confessing, each trying to blame the others, each revealing new horrors in their desperation to seem less guilty. The villagers listened with growing fury. Some wept for lost daughters. Others raged at the years of suffering. Amora's mother made her way through the crowd and embraced Sola, cutting her bonds with shaking hands. What should we do with them? Someone shouted. They deserve death. Death is too easy, another voice called. Let them walk the fields they let die. Let them starve as we have starved. Amora raised her hand again. The choice is yours, people of Karabo. I don't claim authority over you. But know this, I've dismantled the water diversions. Even now, the river flows freely again to your fields. I've unlocked the grain stores and left them open. Take what you need. Feed your children. Heal your land. She paused, feeling the weight of the curse beginning to pull at her. 7 days. She had perhaps 4 left now. But there's more you should know. The 47 women didn't die. They live in Moli, the kingdom beneath the river. They are alive. They are safe. And when I return, I'm going to find a way to break the curse that binds them. I'm going to bring them home. The crowd fell silent. Then Amora's mother pushed forward. My husband. He's alive. Yes, Mama. He's alive. And he loves you. He's never stopped loving you. Her mother collapsed, sobbing with relief and joy. Zola caught her, tears streaming down her own face. Around them, other families were reacting, hope and grief and disbelief mixing into something almost unbearable. "You really bring them back?" Zola asked, her voice breaking. "My cousin Adana, she's down there. She's there. She's alive. And I will bring her home. I swear it." A child's voice piped up from the crowd. "Are you a goddess?" Amara smiled, the expression softening her glowing features. "No, little one. I'm just someone who asks too many questions. Someone who wouldn't accept injustice. Someone who decided to fight back." She looked around at all the faces, young and old, frightened and hopeful. We all have that power. The power to question. The power to resist. The power to demand better. Don't ever forget that. She turned back to the elders, who cowered before the crowd's rage. Their punishment is yours to decide. But remember, justice and vengeance aren't the same thing. Build something better than what came before. Break the cycles that allowed this to happen. Question your leaders. Demand accountability. Never let fear silence your voices again. Zola stepped forward. "How long until you have to go back?" "Not long. The curse is already working on me. I can feel it. But I'm going to use every moment I have to help repair what was broken. Then I'm going back to Molly, and I'm going to free everyone there. Somehow." Over the next 3 days, Karabo transformed. With the water flowing freely again, withered crops began to revive. The grain stores fed every hungry mouth. The elders were imprisoned, their wealth distributed to those they'd harmed. Elder Kamara, seeking some form of redemption, helped organize a new council, one where every family had a voice, where decisions were made in the open, where transparency replaced secrecy. Amara worked tirelessly, using her powers to heal the land, to purify poison wells, to teach others how to manage the water sustainably. She barely slept, knowing each moment brought her closer to the curse's completion. On the 6th day, Zola found her sitting by the river, staring into the depths. "You're fading," Zola said softly. "I can almost see through you." It was true. Amora's form had become translucent, more water than flesh. "One more day. Then I have to go back. Will we ever see you again?" "I don't know. But I'm going to try something. The amulet protected my grandmother from curses. Muizi's mother wore it her whole life. If I can understand its magic, if I can replicate it, maybe I can break the binding curse. Maybe I can free everyone. And if you can't?" Amara smiled. "Then I'll spend eternity in a kingdom underwater, with my father and my ancestor, surrounded by brave women who were silenced but never defeated. There are worse fates." Zola hugged her, carefully, afraid she might disperse like mist. "You're the bravest person I've ever known." "No. I'm just the one who got pushed far enough to push back. But you, Zola, you tried to take my place. You were willing to die for me. That's true bravery." On the 7th day, as the sun rose over Karabo, Amora stood at the river's edge one last time. The entire village had gathered to see her off. Her mother held her for a long time, whispering prayers and promises. "Tell your father I love him. Tell him I've waited 20 years and I'll wait 20 more if that's what it takes." "I will, Mama. And I'll find a way. I promise." Amara waded into the water, feeling it welcome her like an old friend. She turned back one last time to see her village, her people, her home. They were changed now. Stronger. More aware. More free. "Remember," she called out. "Never stop questioning. Never stop fighting. Never let anyone silence your voice. And if I can break this curse, if I can return, I'll come back as your guardian, not your ruler. I'll protect you from the shadows, watch over the water that gives you life. But you have the power to protect yourselves now. Use it wisely. Then she dove beneath the surface and let the water carry her back to Molly. Muizi waited for her in the throne room, her father beside him. They saw immediately how far the curse had progressed. Amora was barely solid, her form flickering between flesh and water. Did you succeed? Muizi asked. The elders are imprisoned. The truth is known. The village is healing. Amora smiled. And I think I know how to break your curse. She held up the amulet, which pulsed with brighter light than ever before. Your mother made this from her tears, from her grief and love. Powerful emotions, crystallized into magic. But curses are just magic too, twisted and dark. What if we could forge something similar? Something made from the combined will of everyone here. Her father's eyes widened. A counter curse. Made from hope instead of despair. Exactly. 48 women here now, all of us with reason to break free. All of us with families waiting above. If we pour our will, our determination, our desperate hope into a ritual, maybe we can shatter the binding. Muizi looked thoughtful. It would take immense power. The kind that comes from sacrifice. Then I'll be the sacrifice. Amora's voice was steady. I'm already cursed. Already dying. Let me use what's left of my life to free all of you. No, our father said immediately. I won't lose you again. Not like this. You won't lose me, Papa. I'll just change. Like Muizi changed. I'll become part of the river, but I'll be aware. I'll be able to watch over Karobo, to ensure this never happens again. It's not death. It's transformation. Over the next hours, they prepared. Every woman in Molly gathered in the throne room. They shared their stories, their pain, their longing for home. They spoke the names of children who had grown up without mothers, of husbands who had grieved alone, of dreams deferred and lives stolen. And as they spoke, their words became power. The very water around them began to glow and pulse with building energy. Amora stood at the center, the amulet blazing against her chest, her body now more water than anything else. When I release this, she told them, run. Swim for the surface as fast as you can. The curse will shatter, but there will be a moment of chaos. Don't hesitate. Don't look back. Just go home. Muizi stepped forward. I'm staying with you. This is my curse. My responsibility. Let me help you bear it. No, great uncle. Your people need their prince back. Karobo needs someone who remembers what true leadership looks like. Go back. Reclaim your throne. Make them remember that power is meant to serve, not to rule. He gripped her shoulder, and she felt the pride and grief radiating from him. You would have been a great queen. I'll be something better. I'll be a reminder. A guardian. A story mothers tell their daughters about what happens when you speak truth to power. She smiled. Now go. All of you. Get ready to run. Amora closed her eyes and plunged her consciousness into the amulet. She felt her grandmother's love there, ancient and enduring. She felt her mother's fierce protection. She felt every woman's hope, every family's grief, every moment of stolen joy. And she released it all at once. The explosion of light and power was visible from the surface. In Karobo, people rushed to the river's edge to see water shooting toward the sky, glowing with rainbow brilliance. Then the river seemed to vomit forth bodies, women gasping and crying, alive and whole, swimming for shore. 47 women returned that day. Wives found husbands. Mothers found children grown tall. Sisters embraced. The village wept and celebrated and struggled to process the impossible miracle. But Amora did not emerge. Her mother waited at the water's edge long after everyone else had been pulled ashore, long after her husband had wrapped her in his arms and wept into her hair. She waited as the sun set and rose again. She waited until Zola gently pulled her away. "She's gone, isn't she?" Her mother's voice was hollow. "I got my husband back, but I lost my daughter." Then the river began to glow softly, and a figure rose from the depths. But it wasn't quite Amora anymore. It was something more, something between human and spirit, solid and liquid, mortal and eternal. Her form shimmered like moonlight on water, her eyes held the depth of the river itself, and when she smiled, it was with peace that transcended ordinary happiness. "Mama," the being said in Amora's voice, but layered with something else, something ancient and vast. "I'm not gone. I'm just different." Her mother reached out with trembling hands, and found she could touch her daughter's face, though it felt like touching the surface of still water. "My baby. My brave, foolish, wonderful baby. I'm the river guardian now," Amora explained, and as she spoke, her form flickered between solid and ethereal. "I'm bound to these waters, but I'm not trapped. I can feel every drop that flows through Karabo. I know when the crops need water, when the wells run low, when children play too close to dangerous currents. I can protect our people in ways I never could before." Mwizi emerged from the water behind her, fully human now, the curse finally broken. He knelt before Amora's mother. "Your daughter saved us all. She gave up her human life so that 47 others could reclaim theirs. There is no greater sacrifice, no nobler purpose." Over the following weeks, Karabo learned to live with its miracle. Amora appeared most often at dawn and dusk, when the light turned the water golden. She could speak with anyone who came to the river's edge. She could materialize for brief periods, solid enough to embrace her mother or laugh with Zola. Children left offerings of flowers at the water, and she would weave them into crowns that floated downstream as blessings. Mwizi reclaimed his place as leader, but he refused the title of king. "Those days are past," he said. "I will serve as elder, as guide, but the people will govern themselves. We'll build a council where every voice matters, where transparency is sacred, where power is shared." The corrupted elders faced justice. Not execution, as many demanded, but something harder. They were stripped of all status and made to walk the fields they'd let wither, to rebuild the irrigation systems they'd destroyed, to face daily the people they'd harmed. Obesai aged 20 years in the first month, his pride broken, his legacy nothing but shame. Elder Kamara became the first chief counselor, her guilt transformed into fierce dedication to ensuring such corruption never took root again. She established schools to teach children to question, to think critically, to never accept tradition without examining its purpose. If we'd all been braver, she told her students, 47 women wouldn't have needed saving. Learn from our cowardice. Be better than we were. Zola took on the task of recording everything. She interviewed every returned woman, documented every crime, wrote it all down in careful script so that future generations would know the truth. "History belongs to whoever tells it," she said. "We are going to make sure our story gets told right." And in the evenings, when work was done and families gathered, they would come to the river to hear Amora's voice rising from the water, telling stories of the underwater kingdom, of her father's courage, of the importance of speaking truth even when silence seems safer. 6 months after Amora's transformation, a merchant from a distant village arrived in Karabo. He'd heard rumors of the miracle, of the river guardian, of a village that had overthrown tyranny and built something new. He came seeking water rights, offering gold. The council met to discuss his proposal. Mwizi led the debate, but every voice was heard. Farmers spoke of their needs. Merchants discussed trade implications. Young people questioned the environmental impact. In the end, they reached a consensus that was fair to all. But before they finalized anything, they took the merchant to the river's edge. Amora rose from the water, her form shimmering in the afternoon light. "Tell me true," she said to the merchant, her eyes blazing with inner light. What do you intend to do with our water? The merchant shifted uncomfortably. To irrigate crops, as I said. The water around Amara turned murky, dark. The water knows lies, merchant. Try again. Sweat beaded on his forehead. To sell to the mining operations in the eastern hills. They pay well for clean water. Mining operations that poison their own water with their greed, then seek to poison ours. Mwizi's voice was cold. I think not. The merchant left empty-handed, and word spread. Kerobo had a guardian who could see truth itself. Who could protect not just from physical threats but from corruption and deceit. Other villages began sending delegations, seeking advice, asking how Kerobo had transformed itself. And so a new tradition was born. Not of sacrifice, but of truth-telling. Not of fear, but of courage. Young people from across the region came to study in Kerobo's schools, to learn from Elder Kamoa and Mwizi, to sit by the river and listen to the guardian's wisdom. 1 year to the day after her transformation, Amora's mother came to the river at dawn. She carried flowers and her daughter's favorite food, honey cakes wrapped in banana leaves. I know you don't eat anymore, she said, placing them at the water's edge. But I remember how you loved this. How you'd sneak extra from the cooling rack when you thought I wasn't looking. Amora materialized beside her mother, more solid than usual, almost fully human. I remember too, Mama. Some memories stay with you no matter how much you change. They sat together in comfortable silence, watching the sun paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. Finally, her mother spoke. Do you regret it? Giving up your life? Amora considered the question carefully. I gave up one kind of life to gain another. I can never marry, never have children, never grow old in the normal way. But I can protect thousands. I can ensure no more girls are sacrificed to lies. I can be a voice for truth in a world that often prefers comfortable falsehoods. She took her mother's hand, and it felt almost warm, almost real. No, Mama. I don't regret it. This is who I was meant to be. I'm proud of you. So incredibly proud. But I'm also sad for all the things you'll never experience. I experience different things now. I feel every raindrop that falls on our land. I know the joy of fish swimming in clean water. I understand the patience of rivers that flow for thousands of years. Amara smiled. And I get to watch over you, and Papa, and Zola, and all the people I love. That's not such a bad existence. Zola arrived then, carrying her writing materials. She'd formed a habit of coming to the river every week to add new entries to her chronicles. Good morning, Guardian. Good morning, Auntie. Are you here for more stories? Amora asked, her eyes twinkling with amusement. Always. The children love hearing about the underwater palace. And I'm documenting Mwizi's governance reforms. Future generations need to know how we built something better from the ashes of corruption. As Zola settled down to write, more people began arriving at the river. It had become a daily gathering place, where disputes were settled, news was shared, and the community came together. The river guardian presided over it all, offering wisdom when asked, maintaining peace, ensuring honesty. A young girl approached shyly, maybe 7 years old. Guardian Amora. My teacher says you're a hero. But you don't look like a hero. You look like water. Amora laughed, the sound like bells mixed with flowing streams. And what does a hero look like, little one? Big and strong and scary. Someone who fights monsters. I fought monsters, Amora said gently. But the scariest monsters don't have claws or fangs. They wear respectable clothes and speak with authority. They hide behind tradition and claim to act for the greater good while serving only themselves. Those are the monsters I fought. How did you beat them? With truth. With courage. with the willingness to sacrifice everything for what was right. Amora knelt to the child's level, her watery form perfectly mimicking human posture. But here's the secret: you don't need magic powers to fight those monsters. You just need to be brave enough to say, "This is wrong," when everyone else stays silent. You need to ask questions when others blindly obey. You need to demand better, even when it's difficult. The girl's eyes were wide. Can I be a hero like you? You can be better than me. You can be the kind of hero who stops the monsters before they gain power. Who builds a world so just that guardians like me aren't necessary. Amora touched the girl's cheek with fingers that felt like cool water. Promise me you always question, always think, always stand up for what's right. I promise, guardian. As the child ran back to her mother, Amora caught her own mother watching with tears in her eyes. What is it, Mama? You would have been such a wonderful mother yourself. You have so much love to give. I am a mother, in a way. Mother to a whole village. Guardian to all who need protecting. Amora stood, her form beginning to fade as the sun climbed higher. It's different than what I imagined for my life, but it's no less meaningful. Maybe more so, because it reaches so many. Over the following years, Kerobo flourished. The crops grew abundant. The river ran clean and strong. Children grew up learning to question authority respectfully, to think critically, to value truth above comfort. The returned women, once silenced victims, became teachers and leaders, their experiences turning into wisdom they shared freely. Amora's father served as the keeper of history, working alongside Zola to ensure every detail was preserved. He never remarried, claiming his heart belonged to his wife and his purpose belonged to honoring his daughter's sacrifice. Muizi governed with wisdom earned through 50 years of imprisonment, always consulting broadly, always explaining his reasoning, always remaining humble despite his power. He established sister relationships with neighboring villages, sharing Kerobo's prosperity and spreading its values of transparency and justice. And through it all, Amora watched. She appeared in times of crisis, offering guidance. She blessed newborn babies by touching the water in their naming ceremonies. She warned of coming storms and droughts. She mediated disputes with the unbiased clarity that only truth-seeing could provide. If this story has moved you, if Amora's courage has inspired you, then do me a favor. Hit that like button right now. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And drop a comment below telling me what truth you're brave enough to speak. Let's build a community of truth tellers together. 5 years after her transformation, on the anniversary of her sacrifice, the entire region gathered in Kerobo for a celebration. Not of her death, but of her rebirth. Not of sacrifice, but of transformation. Villages that had once practiced similar traditions had abandoned them, inspired by Kerobo's example. Young women who might have been victims became scholars, leaders, voices of change. Amora appeared in the center of the celebration, her form more solid than it had been in years, glowing with the light of hundreds of lanterns reflected in her watery body. She looked around at the faces, so many of them alive because of her choice, and felt something she'd never experienced as a human. Complete peace. 5 years ago, she said, her voice carrying across the silent crowd, I stood at this river's edge believing I would die. In a way, I did. The Amora who was chosen for sacrifice, that frightened girl, she's gone. But something better emerged. Something that could protect and guide and ensure that what happened to 47 women never happens again. She paused, looking directly at the young girls in the crowd. Some of you will face your own river someday. Your own moments where you must choose between safety and truth, between silence and courage. When that moment comes, remember this, the sacrifice is never as terrible as the regret of staying silent. The transformation is never as painful as living with injustice unchallenged. Muizi stepped forward. Our guardian speaks truth, as always. But let us also remember that her sacrifice was necessary because we, the adults, the leaders, failed in our duty. We allowed corruption to take root. We stayed silent when we should have spoken. We prioritized our own comfort over our children's future. He looked around at the other elders, at the parents, at everyone who bore responsibility. Her courage saved us. But our vigilance must ensure no one ever needs to be that courageous again. The celebration continued late into the night, with dancing and singing and storytelling. Amara moved among her people, more present than she'd been since her transformation, touching hands and blessing children and laughing at jokes. For a few precious hours, she was almost human again. But as dawn approached, her form began to fade. She found her mother and father standing together at the river's edge, watching the first light break over the water. "I have to go back now," she said softly. "The magic that lets me hold this form is fading." Her mother embraced her, holding tight even as Amora's body became less and less solid. "I love you, my brave girl. My hero. My daughter. I love you too, Mama. Both of you. Always." Her father's voice was thick with emotion. "You gave us our lives back, little one. You gave everyone their lives back. How do we ever thank you for that?" "Live them well," Amora said simply. "Live them with courage and honesty and love. That's all the thanks I need." She stepped back into the river, her form dissolving into the water, becoming one with the current. But her voice echoed across the surface one last time. "I am always here. In every drop of water that sustains you, in every rainfall that nourishes your crops, in every stream where your children play. I am the river, and the river is me, and together we will guard Karobo forever. Sleep peacefully, my people. You are safe. You are loved. You are free." The water glowed softly for a moment, then returned to its normal appearance. But everyone who stood on that shore knew the truth. They were not alone. They were not unprotected. And they would never again allow fear and lies to rule their lives. Years turned to decades. Children who had heard Amora's story as youngsters grew up to tell it to their own children. Kerobo became known across the land as the village where truth lived in the water, where justice flowed like a river, where a young woman's courage had changed everything. Other villages faced their own corrupt leaders, their own unjust traditions. And when they did, they sent delegations to Kerobo to learn. They came to the river's edge to ask the guardian for wisdom. And Amora always appeared, always guided, always reminded them that change was possible, that sacrifice was sometimes necessary, but that truth was always worth fighting for. The story of the river guardian spread far and wide, becoming legend, becoming myth, becoming the kind of tale that mothers told daughters and fathers told sons. A tale about questioning authority. About speaking truth to power. About the price of justice and the reward of courage. And in the depths of the river, in the spaces between water molecules, in the flow that sustained all life, Amora remained. Watching. Protecting. Loving. Forever the girl who refused to stay silent, who transformed sacrifice into salvation, who proved that one voice speaking truth could change the world. The elders had said the river demanded blood. They were wrong. The river demanded something far more precious and far more powerful. It demanded courage. It demanded truth. It demanded that someone, somewhere, would finally say enough. Amora had been that someone. And because of her, thousands more found their own voices, their own courage, their own truth. That is the legacy of the River Guardian. Not death, but transformation. Not silence, but eternal witness. Not sacrifice, but salvation. And if you listen carefully, even now, you can hear her voice in the sound of flowing water, reminding us all to be brave, to question, to stand firm in truth no matter the cost. Because some truths are worth more than life itself. And some sacrifices give birth to something greater than we ever imagined possible. Before you go, I need you to do 3 things for me. First, smash that like button if this story touched your heart. Second, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss another powerful African folktale. And third, drop a comment below telling me what other folktales you want to hear. Your engagement helps me bring more of these incredible stories to life. Remember, like Amora, you have the power to change your world. You just have to be brave enough to use your voice. Until next time, keep questioning, keep growing, and keep speaking your truth.